history of BT, Cisco, and the TechFire brand. So we have a lot of events that we run, and we also, what's important is we have an integrated vision. There's something magical happening here in Cork. There's a real IT hub called Silicon Valley of Europe, IT hub, an ITSC versus an IFSC. There's something magical happening. We have a real a large group of IT industry leaders from SME to multinationals. And we also have a unity that's happening and a vision. Alan Cooney and I and Bob Savage and all, we talk together despite maybe competing sometimes. So
a full and encompassing BYD strategy will include personal computing devices, whether they are just smartphones, tablets, but again, this can extend to laptops and PCs. What operating systems, office tools are being used? Again, you may find that there are very many different operating systems within the organisation. Or the back-end systems, the applications, ERP, CRM systems, supply chain management, understanding the life cycle of all those, so we can have a program to provide those to a mobility strategy moving forward.
You also need to be able to have a look at the actual device itself. So can I, without having to put anything on the device, can I actually, what we would call profile the device, figure out what it is? Is it an iPad, is it an Android device, is it a corporate iPad versus a private iPad, for instance, or any other device that's actually coming into the actual network? I also need to have a look maybe at the state of that device coming in as well. You know, does it have a certain version of software on it, for instance, if you want to actually go down to that level in certain instances. And maybe location might be taken into account, how you're actually accessing the network, whether it is wired or wireless or VPN, and maybe having a different policy associated with that. So the first thing is you need to figure out the state of the connection, if you like, in terms of this context awareness.
Our discussions in IT can be very much around control and policy and security. We definitely locked down and as long as we could continue to do it and denied access to the network as much as we could for all these devices. But the key opportunity has to be user experience, and that's the kind of discussions I'm having with executive stakeholders at LEA. We're talking about possibly brand dimensions, and while it may appear slightly trite to the IT person, there is a certain challenge about going in front of a corporate customer and speak to your Cisco and pulling out the laptop and you're waiting for food for 5 minutes before you key into your presentation style. So I think Salesforce and the whole CRM, the cloud dimension as well, has really given that element of our business an understanding for what good mobile ERP or CRM could do for them.
Seen as a risk of having this data, Irish data, on a US server, so we just don't allow it. And with a decent MDM, you can select if you buy these devices, you can decide what you can and cannot do. We also don't allow our users to forward emails from their corporate mail to any other account on their email. You know, we don't allow third-party apps, which is pretty much any app that's on the iPhone. We don't allow those third-party apps access to the email client, which is all set in an MDM level. So if it's risks that if you're worried about that, there are steps that you can take to secure it. And then a selective wipe should clear everything off the device. But you're the one, and your policy will have to dictate whether you do or do not allow, and what are the risks again.
We're trying to restrict it almost, let people have internet access, and obviously these people who were born 9 or 10 years of age in 1990 are now working in these environments, so they've all been brought up in the internet of A. I haven't, and a lot of us here haven't been of A. So they're born and bred with the internet, right? And now they're gone to mobile devices. You actually have no option, to be honest, except take part and make sure that you can start from the start and have a proper policy in place. But it's happening, it's there.
Stuart, is that something you want to comment on in terms of business case?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I certainly echo what you've just said there, and the fact that it's only been 5 years since Facebook and the iPhone. I mean, let's be clear, Apple are driving BYD strategies generally moving forward. There's not many employees that would turn their nose up at an iPhone if you offered it to them, even if it's not their choice.
Do when the status of the employee or the status of the device changes. When I have this Android here, and if we had an idle 2 minutes, I would root it and get complete control over it. It's remarkably simple to do. Luckily, these devices are usually connected 100% of the time, so you're going to get a very quick notification when it happens. But have you thought about what to do when it happens? Are you going to wipe the entire device? There's a lovely anecdote about somebody who had written their first novel. They hadn't told anybody about this, and the only copy was on their device, and it got wiped. So you can imagine they were extremely annoyed about that happening. Have your employees, if they're bringing their own device, consented to you being able to wipe it completely, or are you just allowed to wipe the business part of the data? And again, does your choice of technology allow that? Ideally, you really wouldn't want any persistent company data on here. As Leo was saying, you don't really have anything on the laptop that is sensitive. If it blows up, I mean, it's going to be encrypted as well, but if anyone gets access to it, there's nothing on there to recover. So, are you just having a small partition on this device? Is there nothing on there, or is it the whole thing? And if it's the whole thing, be very careful about the data protection legislation, because it's the person's data that you're going to wipe. I don't think you can actually blow them up yet, I certainly hope not.
If ever they do have to move network at a later stage, they have their infrastructure already in place, and they can plug the network into that, whatever network it is. But if they have their mobile device securely with a network, and they decide to move, it's much harder for them to move all the services that are attached to that network, be it mobile device management, whatever software options are available. So again, we'd say, obviously they're important, they're a partner, but they should be treated as a partner, but I think your mobile device management should be separate from your network.
Okay. There is, carriers are, an example is probably the best way to describe it, and I'll try to keep it brief. So if an organisation has got 2,000 mobile phones, those are 2,000 corporate liable users. What some carriers are looking towards, so it's in its infancy, is in individual liable users. So if you want 1,000 of those employees want to bring their own device, then you introduce them to your carrier of choice. They then negotiate with that carrier their terms and conditions when they get the latest upgrade of phone, including business and personal. So you've introduced them to your carrier, the business carrier that you're using. They get a better deal because they're including personal and business. They get the allowance back through expenses, however, and you still get your volume discounting because those individual liable users account as part of your volume of 2,000. So
I've been trying to get everyone on, but now this is the major is trying to get somebody off.
Does anybody want to take that on in terms of when people have these facilities there, when they know they have smartphones, tablets, laptops always available, are users finding it difficult to find the right balance? Do they need help? Is that something that the strategy and the policy should cover?
clear. So if you want to switch your work side off at 5:30 and back on at 9 on Monday, then you don't really want to be merging the two, your personal life, your personal device with and the corporate device in one.
But it is on the roadmap. I think it's version 2.0 is currently planned to be integrated into ISE. But for the moment, and that's at least a year away, it doesn't support it. So if you want to implement that central policy engine for access to the network, then what you would do is you'd put in ISE and still keep ACS over here, just doing the TACX control and device admin, for instance, is one approach.